Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I have a beautiful guest with me who's been here before. Super excited to have you back, Miss Serena. This is Serena Novelli, who is an intimacy and relationship coach, a fellow intimacy and relationship coach, also a fellow co-author. We were best-selling authors together. You may have remembered her being back on the show, I don't know, about a year and a half ago. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you for having me back. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited. I love chatting with you. I love doing all projects with you, if we're going to be honest here. I've had lots of fun in
Oh,
your
amazing.
circles
Thank you.
working with each other. You're very welcome. So, we are going to continue this topic of Tantra and how it has weaved its way literally into our lives and into our relationships and everywhere else it wants to go. But first, I'd love to hear. I've kind of been asking everybody, we're all sex, love, relationship, and Tantra coaches. Kind of been asking everybody, what is your take on what Tantra is?
For me, I feel that Tantra is coming home to
Mm,
your body and connecting on that spiritual and soulful level with your partner. So your two spirits become whole and become one in that process. That's how I like to explain it to my clients and to the people who ask me. I think it's really beautiful because it is just such a beautiful way for you to connect, kind of let go of everything that is, and just be so super present and in the moment with the person who you love and adore. So
mm,
yeah, that's how
mm.
I see it.
I love that. And I use that a lot talking about solo journey and tantra as well. It's about really, I use those words a lot, coming home to myself, coming home in my body, creating safety
Mm,
and trust and connection and love and presence with compassion and approval. And now we just get to
mhm.
take that and put it into relationship. The same
Yeah,
thing, but coming home
absolutely.
to each other. And I love that you said, the souls, the spirits, right, align. And I totally feel that in connection with my partner, especially when we can get into eye gazing and just really being present and following just pleasure, right? Not even this is talking more the sexual realm. We can also, of course, talk about the regular everyday realm, but really just being present is super, super powerful.
Yeah, and I believe that the eye gazing piece is probably one of the most powerful because we don't really look into each other's eyes like on a day-to-day basis. It's something that um we take for granted, I think. So when you're there, you're in a space of vulnerability, you're opening up, you're sharing. Um, and they say the eyes are the windows of your soul, don't they? And I really
Mm,
truly believe in that. So yeah, it is so it can feel awkward, I think, for when you first start the journey. The eye gazing piece is the piece that's a little bit like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Like this feels a bit weird. But
it's
once you
vulnerable.
get, yeah, it's because it's vulnerable. Once you get into it and you do it more regularly, it just becomes such a natural, beautiful process.
Mhm, mhm. Could totally relate, and I shared on an earlier episode, but when I started eye gazing with just women in a sister circle, actually working with Mama Gina years ago, I couldn't. I
Hmm.
could not do the eye gazing. Now, this was in 2017. It was just so uncomfortable, so vulnerable. Hadn't done a lot of my work yet, and definitely the deep parts. But now, like, and it has been okay for many, many years now. It didn't take long. It probably took about a year to really find that safety within myself to do so. But now, like, I can sit in a chair or across the table and just like, I'll just actually stare, right? Eye gaze at my partner until he comes to. And we'll just sit there for a moment, right? And he realizes, I'm staring. Sometimes he has his eyes closed and I'll just stare at him even in bed. And he knows that he can feel it. And all of a sudden then he'll open
Yeah.
his eyes and we'll just continue that little moment. And those moments are powerful. They are intimate.
Hmm.
They are vulnerable.
Hmm.
They are beautiful. And that is when I truly see him, like truly, truly see him. And I can almost send that love and I see you and acceptance and approval, like through my own eyes to his, like I know he feels that and vice versa.
Yeah. And I've been working a lot recently with clients that have quite a bit of disconnect. And when it comes to the vulnerable sharing, that eye gazing piece is the space where you can reconnect and you can it. I don't know what happens between these couples, but it's like they melt into each
Mhm.
other's being all of a sudden. Um, and that they then have that safety, like you said, of vulnerability where they can share openly and feel safety in that sharing. Um, so it can be done just like you said, right? Where it is just pure eye gazing, nothing else, but it can
Yeah.
also be done through a piece of where you can connect and share openly with one another on maybe things that haven't felt safe to share before.
Yeah, and in sex.
And
Right?
in
It ca
sex, yes,
and in sex,
absolutely.
which, like, holy damn, if you wanna take your, sexual play into the next level, like, that is it. Like, boom, just
Yeah,
boom. I can't even describe it. It's just
yeah.
indescribable.
Yeah, and I think because we are, again, lights off people, we've been taught, right? Lights off, in the dark, don't look at
Mm.
each other, close your eyes. So that connection again, it's vulnerable and it's really sexy to know that you're being watched, that your partner is experiencing that pleasure and that joy that you're having together as well.
Yeah, and it's hot.
Yeah,
It's, like, one of my favorite things, the way my
yeah,
partner looks at me
yeah.
during sex that way, like, it's like, damn, like, it's super hot. Um, and it's, super vulnerable, like, if you probably asked me to do that way back when before I'd done some work, I don't know
Yeah,
if I would have been able to, honestly. I'm gonna say no, but I don't know. It
yeah,
also because I only had one experience being my ex, and I could barely do eye gazing with him. And now looking back, I kind of see why, but I didn't then, right? So there wasn't that safety, there wasn't that trust. So I'm curious how much of it was me not able to, or was I in the wrong relationship?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's
And I
just one
think,
beautiful way.
yeah,
Sorry, go
for
ahead.
sure. No, I was just gonna say, I think that's true. Like, if you think about what we're doing when we're coming together in that way, is we are literally like opening up our souls.
Mhm.
And to be able to do that, we need the right person.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you've heard it, you've read it, you might be listening going, "You saw their soul through eye gazing and sex?" And yes, I did. And you know what? He is not tantric from the beginning. And yet
Mhm.
that is one of the first things he shared with me. I can see your soul when we do that. And it's like, okay, so you don't even need to be fully tantric, nor do you even need to have your partner being fully tantric to actually play with this together, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah,
Really cool.
absolutely.
And I was gonna say earlier, this is just one of the many, many, many tantric tools that we play with, and it's a beautiful way to come home to yourself, to come home to
Mhm.
your relationship. It's just one of the many tools. I love this, just a way to reconnect,
Yeah.
to be in that presence, full presence together.
Yeah.
What are some other ways that you love to use with your partner?
I like to do the breath work. I really love working with
Mm.
breath. I love to bring the sexual energy up through my chakras and back down and then like have that like weave into a circle of both of our breath. I feel that's really um for me, I think because it's like a you're breathing, I feel like I can feel the vibration and the sensations, and they just become more intense. So for me,
Mhm.
it's really beautiful, and I feel that connection in that way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes, I totally would second that, especially when you bring that into the more sexual experience, then it's the full body orgasms one after another to the point that I lose count. There is no count at that point. It's just like merging into one, which
yeah,
it's again using the components of tantric sex, using breath and energy and intention and drawing it all up and it's so yummy, so yummy.
yeah.
And then, of course, tantra is not always about sex either. That is just
No,
one part of the tantric philosophies. I'd love to know how else you play with tantric philosophy in your relationship outside of the bedroom.
Well, with do you mean like with communication, like
Anything, whatever comes
anything?
up.
So I feel like we definitely have a deeper connection with communication pieces from the pieces that we have played with in the bedroom. And we open up more vulnerably in what we talk about. We have that safe container of shares, and we've been together for 30 years.
Mm.
30 whole
Oh
years.
my gosh, well
Um,
bragged.
I don't know if that's a brag or stupid.
Yeah,
No, I'm only
totally is a
joking. It's a
brag.
brag. It's a brag. I'm just joking. And but it hasn't always been like that. And we've had to really work at things. We've been together since we were teenagers. And so having learned some of the tools and how you can bring that into more of a conscious container with your partner, it has been really beautiful to use. And like you said, um, so we have obviously practiced things together while I was training, but it doesn't necessarily need to be both of you doing that. If one of you picks up the piece and starts to play with it, or in that piece, your partner seems to just kind of
Come
know
along
the
for the
the
ride.
vibration. Yeah, the vibration just kind of brings them along.
Yeah. So what are those pieces that you use?
So we use lots of shares around desire, and that doesn't necessarily mean in the bedroom, but desire around what we want from our lives, which means then we're working towards the same goal. We will also share vulnerabilities as well. Um, my husband is
Fears.
obviously poorly, so we those pieces are very important to share and to sit with as well. So we do lots of that. Yeah.
Vulnerable sharing, yeah. Into the
Yeah.
fears, into the future, into the actually
Yeah.
sharing what's really on your heart. The stuff
Yeah.
that we don't want people to know. And
No.
yet, when we allow somebody to see that, see us in that light, again, right? Like it's just like mind blowing of how literally seen and understood for
Yeah.
exactly who we are and loved and accepted for it.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you're bringing in these pieces even into your business, um and you're using the tools, like the connections that you make with people are just so much more stronger, so more aligned. The energetic field that you're playing in is so much bigger. So you're bringing in joy, and you're bringing in love, and you're bringing in compassion all of the time.
Yeah, and groundedness, I find I get a lot. People are like, "You're just so grounded." But that
Yeah.
I wasn't always, right? You get it probably the
No.
same. I don't know about you, I wasn't always. It was me doing my own healing work and learning
Hmm.
how to play with the tantric philosophies and realms and learning, all of it, how to love my body, how to love all the pieces of myself, the shadow, the light, all of everything that's alive in there that has allowed me to ground, to feel
Hmm.
confident, to feel safe, to feel powerful in my own being, which then is read in the energetic field of who you're working with or whoever's in front of you, like you and I right now, which is just kind of infinity looping, I feel, between us right now, just
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah, absolutely. The pieces on the shadow work I feel are important, that you just touched on as well, because they're the pieces that I feel for me have made me to be the person I am today. By finding those pieces, they've made me so much more stronger in who I am, and how I deal with life as a whole, because I'm a Cancerian. I'm very an emotional person, and this shadow pieces are pieces that I would push down because I would be trying not to show my true self, my vulnerabilities. And actually there's power in that. There's power in that play, right? In letting those pieces come out and shine. So
Absolutely.
I yeah, so I like playing in the shadows as well.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of the shadows anymore. I used to be. Damn, if
Yeah.
we go back to that first eye gazing, I was like, "We're not talking about that. Off limits. I'm not sharing my truth here," right? Because those were my shadows. They were the parts that I wanted hidden, whether it
Yes.
was how I thought about my body or how I thought about sex or how I, sat on my shoulder criticizing myself all day long. What are some other shadows? Let's just list some other shadows just for people listening who are like, what are shadows if they're not sure? The way I mistreated myself, the way that I thought I wasn't good enough and yet showed up like I was good, actually. And I'm very happy. It was like a fake confidence, I like to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I would always um portray somebody who's super confident when I'm in situations where I felt uncomfortable, but yet inside I was super scared and my inner child was wanting me to like hide. And so now I've learned when I go to places, I don't have to be the life and soul of every party. I don't have to
Mm.
be seen. I don't need to be this big, massive personality. I can be small and I can sit things out and I can choose to do the pieces that feel right for me. Whereas before, I would have done everything because I would be trying to people please and make sure that I was in the right spaces.
People thought we looked great and we were, perfect when it's not about being perfect. It's actually about showing up in who you are today in this hour or in this
Yeah.
minute. Do you need to sit and, have some quiet time on a balcony at a party, or do you need to go and hang out, with the women in the kitchen or everybody else around the pool? Just examples kind of thing. You actually get to do what serves you so that you're not
Yes.
drained and exhausted and instead you're actually fed. And the people that is people pleasing. If you're running around going, "Oh, da, 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 let me get that, let me do this, let me do that," like that's not serving you. Typically you go
No.
home and you're drained. And that is, introed into the shadow work, right? There's so we all hold different shadows of what we've been taught, what we've been told, how we've been modeled on how we should, air quotes in there, show up.
Mhm.
And a lot of it isn't our truth. It was somebody else's, and it most likely wasn't even theirs, if we're going to be honest here. It was most likely, again, somebody else's, somebody else's, somebody
Absolutely.
else's, based on trauma, based on past lived experiences, based on our inner children not getting our needs
Mhm.
met. There's so much in there that we get to play with. And I used to be afraid to play with the shadows. Now I'm like, ooh, do I have a little trigger in there? What is that? I want to find out where that comes from, what it's about, and if that's really true for me. Like, I love playing with my shadows.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, me too. And I think that is like it's opening Pandora's box, but actually that's quite exciting sometimes, isn't it? To see all the things you can play with.
Absolutely, because it's just one thing that's actually holding me back from getting exactly what I want, from the life I
Yeah.
want to love and desire, from all of that. It's these pieces that are, can't be like that, can't do that, don't do that. And it's like, is this one true? Maybe it is. But most of the time, it's the shoulds. And we really need to
Mhm.
investigate and see who said, who
Mhm.
said we have to show up that way, and
Yes.
investigate and actually start to relate and co-create these lives that actually feel really connected, which is the tantric philosophy, right? This
Yeah.
connection, this aliveness, this being, really being, at
Yeah.
least for the women, the feminine being when masculine is more doing. But can we surrender into our feminine and be who we are in a given moment with tons and tons of love and compassion and approval and pleasure?
Mm. Yeah. And I think again that piece, the should piece, I'm training again at the moment, and our tutor will always say, "Here comes the shoulds again," because when we're trying to do things that we need to move away from the shoulds. So even when you're playing in this world and you're opening boxes of, well, what's this and how can I play with this and what can I do, there will still be moments in your journey where the shoulds will show up and surprise you, like, and you have to figure that out. Like somebody else might catch you saying the should piece, um And I think that's beautiful as well, to be surrounded by people that understand the journey and can kind of catch you and lift you back up when you have those moments where you might be questioning and
Yeah.
that uncertainty comes in.
And who not better to do that than your partner, who's literally living with you, living life with you, being with you
Yeah,
in the did you just should? Who says? Is that really true? Is that really true? Can you play
exactly.
with that piece? And just see, is that true? Is that what you want to be true? Or just take a look, just take a moment.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if it is, again, my truth, this is another very big tantric philosophy of my truth may not be your truth. And that is
Mm,
okay. And as tantric coaches, that's what we're doing is we're inviting our clients into finding their truth,
absolutely. Yeah,
which is so important.
absolutely. I think that's really important. And I think if we all were able to live in that way, there wouldn't be any shoulds, would there?
There wouldn't be any judgment, shame, shoulds. Ugh. It's
Or
basically our inner
musts.
critic or must.
Yeah,
It's that inner critic that sits on
musts.
our shoulder and tells us all day long, or it used to, how good we're not, what we're not doing right, where we're failing, where we need to pick it up. And that's just not a way to live.
Mm. I spoke on stage back in the beginning of this year. When I got onto stage, I was speaking around sex, around desire, and around like cultivating boundaries, and how actually when we got the communication piece and the desire piece and the boundary piece, and we're in consent and safety, that flows into all pieces of your life. So like in your work and with your children, with your family, it doesn't necessarily stay in the bedroom. It's not just the bedroom thing. And if we can get it right in the bedroom, it will naturally flow into all those other areas. And as
Yes.
I got on stage and I started speaking, I had the shoulds. You need to be perfect. You need to be the professional. You're the one they're all listening to. And these mind monkeys came flooding in and they started doing this in my ear. And I felt myself lose my flow. And as I
Hmm.
felt it, usually I would panic really badly and that would be end game. But I noticed that even though I started to panic, I realized and I caught it really quick. And I started to like, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, I know you're there, but I'm coming back to you later. We're going to deal with this after. You need to leave now and let me do my thing. And I brought it back at the end and it was beautiful. And I took them through one of the five senses reality practices so they could drop in their body and really understand their desire as I came back out through the other end. And it was the most beautiful. There was silence in the room. Everybody was on this practice and feeling into their bodies and into this desire. Um, and as they were doing that, I felt this like just this whole relaxing, my whole body changed, my posture changed. And I was like, I'm home. This is where I want to play. This is what I want to teach. So why am I letting the mind monkeys, the shoulds, the mush, you need to be this person show up as I
Hmm.
step onto a platform?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually thought you were going to say, so I named it. So I was like, okay, I'm being told right now that I should be perfect and that I should be this. And I'm going to show up and tattle on myself right now because this is totally not how
No,
we're
exactly. But
wanting to act and behave. So I'm going to name it. We can move on now. Thank you
yeah,
for listening
just like,
and
shh,
witnessing
goodbye.
me. Yeah.
I did deal with it afterwards. I went off and I worked through it because you have to. If you
Good.
leave it, you're not.
Yeah.
It's not gonna change. So I did. I
Yeah.
sat with it. Um, and I think there's beauty in that as well. Sitting with that discomfort of the pieces that are coming up to play when
Yep.
you can sit with them and you can accept it and you can honor its being and why it's there. And like you said before, usually it's things that have been taught to us or passed down to us. It's not even our judgments. But to honor that and to allow it to know that we see it is really, truly beautiful. And then it kind of gives you space to work out what is yours and what isn't.
Mhm. And that reminds me of taking it into relationship because you can also take it then into relationship and
Mhm,
hold space for each other, which I just did this weekend with my partner, the same kind of thing where, one of us got triggered and it was like, "Whoa, okay, what else you got?" And hold that in presence, knowing that it wasn't about me, that it
mhm,
it was, his trigger and that he gets to express it. And that's a beautiful way again to honor it, to give space to it, and to sit in the uncomfortableness with it. And that of course has
mhm.
taken practice for me over the years in doing my own work because once I've done my own work, I sat and held that for over an hour and I was fine holding that, witnessing that and giving space for it to work itself out, but that's sitting in the uncomfortableness, knowing that it
Yeah.
isn't mine, not taking it on, and instead grounding and going,
Mhm.
"What else? What else?"
Yeah.
And that itself is huge in relationship. Like, that
Yeah.
is what relationship is about. Oh, seeing each other that way, holding each other that way, communicating, being in that uncomfortableness. And that's what creates, I think, an epic foundation of
Mhm.
relationship. And it's way different to what we probably grew up seeing, which was the
Absolutely.
yelling and screaming, "I'm going this way, you go that way, fuck you."
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's why it's taken my husband and I to get to a place. It's taken us a long time because you're modeling behaviors that you feel are how you and if you watch in the UK, if you watch the soaps in the UK, they're always fighting and arguing.
Yep.
It's just the norm. Um, so yes, it took a long time, but I do think that when you can hold that space like you were saying and you can let them go that little bit deeper with it, that little bit deeper and deeper, it it comes to a point where they have that epiphany moment, right? Where they realize what, because usually the surface stuff comes up first. It's not that. It's whatever it is that they're bringing, it's not really that. And that shedding of the layers helps them to really come to that core of what the problem is, what the thing is that they have been projecting or has been like,
Pushing down,
yeah, they've been hiding it for a while. Um,
been eating
oh,
at them. Yeah.
and then the eyes open and they
Yeah.
realize, oh my goodness, this is what it really is.
I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant too, because once you get a taste and you see your own, I'm gonna say shit for lack of a better word, even my kids call it, "Oh, it's my own shit, isn't it?" But once they see, "Oh, okay," like, once you see it once, it's
Hmm.
easier to put that, outfit, let's say,
Hmm.
onto another circumstance and see your own stuff in a different light,
Hmm.
in a different area, which I love. Like, this is personal growth work, right? Like, this is how we evolve and how we model stronger, more powerful, more connected, more loving, more compassionate relationships for ourselves, but also for our
Yeah.
partners and for our children.
Yeah. Yeah. And our sisters, by the way.
Oh, and our sisters. Yeah, all of it, right?
All of it, yeah. My sister and I have had a bit of a conversation. We haven't seen each other, but we've had a conversation today over Messenger. Um, so something I've done has triggered her. Um, and that's okay. It's
Yep.
okay that it's triggered her. And I took responsibility of my own being and why I did the thing and explained to her that it was my process that I was going through and it wasn't anything to do with her in the first place, but it triggered her. And that it was okay for her to feel that way, but I
Mm,
wasn't going to apologize for doing my own inner healing. And
mhm,
that really upset her. But she hasn't done this work. So I know that if I try to approach her in this moment, it's not going to be good for her. So I'm leaving her to cool down and to figure that out herself before
mhm.
we finish the conversation because we're not face to face. We're not in the same room. We can't like have that flow of a conversation. But I'm very proud of myself because there would have been a
Yeah.
moment where that she would have triggered me back and that would have carried on going backwards and forwards until I would be in tears
Rupture.
because I'm the Cancerian that cries at everything.
Mhm. Full rupture,
Yeah.
and you just don't know where it'll go from there. That reminds me of a similar incident I had with my oldest, with my almost 24-year-old back in February, where, I shared some information with all 3 kids who are adults. They're all adults, and I've always been very transparent, and he didn't like it. And he
Mhm.
started to first message me in the group chat that I was sharing. I was giving very clear information, making sure everybody knew what was going on with their father and I. Not to, badmouth, but just like, "This is what's happening. This is why. I want you to know." And he freaked a little bit and was like, "How dare you? And my brother and sister don't need to hear this." And blah, 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 and he went on and on and on. And I let him do it for a little while. But by the next morning, when he was still going, I was like, "Hey, you have every right to share all of your feelings, and I am here for your feelings, but I am not here for parenting advice. I did not ask you for
Mhm.
parenting advice." Right. And it's just that holding that firm boundary. And
Mhm.
he gets to sit with that, and he actually never responded back to it. We've talked many times since, so I know that everything's okay. But that's his. Like, I was like, "This is
Yeah.
not mine. I'm giving this back, and
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm not
Yeah.
triggered." He may be until he does his work around it, and maybe he isn't. Maybe he was just in a moment. But again, it came from a loving, compassion, boundary holding.
Absolutely the same with me. And I did put in the last sentence, "I love you. I love you. Um,
Mm,
but I'm not gonna apologize for working on my own stuff." Um,
yes,
and then I got a really mean one back, but it's okay. I've ignored it right
that's
now.
okay. That is okay. That's not
Yeah,
yours. It's not
we
yours.
will work on it. I know it's not mine, and I did let her know that that was her. It was her stuff she needed to deal with, and it wasn't anything to do with me at all. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And it is hard also to have that conversation when people are triggered. It's important to come back to
yes,
it again later when people are
hmm
more grounded, and again, that is when we can actually hold space
hmm
for it and actually hear what's going on the other side, because if we're trying to have this discussion while people are still very triggered, if it's a trauma response, which most triggers are, they're actually not
yeah,
able to think straight because they're not actually in their frontal cortex. They're in their reptilian brain, which is like, I gotta like fight. I gotta fight. I said fight,
mm,
flee, fawn, freeze. I got to do something here. And they're looking for a way to just respond, and they're not thinking. They're actually not able to think. So when we give that space, that grounding, that cool down, that what do you need right now, and then come back to it, then they're like, yeah, okay, that didn't feel great. And some people will get re-triggered again and again and again and again. And hey, they've got some work to do then. And then it's really, really tricky if you actually can't finish the
hmm
conversation at a later date to hold it. But it's very
yeah,
powerful work. It's very powerful. And this is what creates epic relationships, whether it's sisterhood, friendships, partnerships, parenting.
absolutely, yes, and I agree, and I know that through doing this work, and anybody that maybe is listening that hasn't started or has, they're just thinking about it, it will change your life for the better, 100%.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Can you share some ways that it has changed your life for the better?
Well, I think that I am just a much more grounded, um, self-caring person. Whereas before, like I was saying, I was much more of a people pleaser and would do everything for anybody and put myself right at the bottom of the pile. I now
Mm.
take pleasure in the pleasure that I can give myself from having those boundaries, from doing the inner work, from sharing the sexual energy and the chemistry that we can create with my partner. I feel that all of those things have led me to a much more grounded version, a much stronger version of who I guess I've always known that she's there, because
Mhm.
you kind of do, don't you? It's just you
You
just don't
recognize
know.
her.
You just don't know really where she is from all of the shit. You said it earlier, so I'm saying
Lots of shit, lots of shit
it.
piling up, right?
Exactly. And when you start to be able to, you become just this whole new, it's like you've reached a Super Mario level, I don't know, like a huge level
Yeah,
in Super Mario. You're like,
exactly. You've like taken off the 100-pound backpack that you've been carrying your
yeah,
entire life, and you're like, this isn't mine. So
absolutely.
it is. Yeah, you are Super Mario on steroids. You can tell
Absolutely.
Serena has some Super Mario playing children still in her house.
Something like that.
Absolutely. I would, yeah, you've been supercharged. I used to play with the kids. So yeah, there's lots going on there. And it's a new way of, it's so freeing. You know what I was noticing even since Bali, I did another huge tantra workshop. I was telling you, teacher training in Bali while I was there a few months ago. I'm noticing since I've been back, this is a win-win here. Everything seems to have much more color.
Mm,
Like the sky, the clouds, the greens. And I keep saying, and I thought it was because it was spring, but it's not it. I'm actually seeing it now. Like everything is more even another level of vibrant, another level of aliveness for me. And again, it's gonna can keep deepening. Tantra is not something you
mm,
pick up one day and you do and you're like, okay, I'm done, I'm good now. Like it's a philosophy, it's a way of being, it's a way of integrating and weaving into your life that's going to come and deepen and deepen. I like to look at it like a nice, beautiful spiral while we do our healing work. And I think this is just a new level for me where everything is just more vibrant. You can do this in all of
mm.
your senses, right? You can do it in your sights, you can do it
Yeah,
in your hearing. I love music, I always will. Tasting food, all of these different things that we can feel
yeah.
and touch. And sensuality wise too, it's definitely heightened even more. And when I already thought we couldn't go even more, but it just keeps deepening and deepening. And
Yeah.
it's creating such a beautiful, rich life and beautiful,
Mm,
rich partnerships.
yeah, yeah. I feel like just listening to you is like super like juicy and
Mm.
all like I'm very excited for you right now.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the power of turn on, right? So once we start feeding that fuel and reconnecting, it just grows and grows and grows as long as we still listen and honor ourselves, right? As long as we put up the
Absolutely.
boundaries we need to put up, which I've done huge in the last year and a half. As long as we speak our truth, as long as we keep following our pleasure, as long as we keep taking care of us and what we need, not what we should need, but what we really, truly need, it just grows and grows and grows. And our circle of humans that we collect in, this sphere around us just continues to grow and grow with more
Hmm.
alike humans, whether you are attracting a partner that you desire is, meeting you on that level, or whether it's friendship or sisterhood, whatever it may be, more people start coming into this spiral
Hmm.
again that you've created, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds so beautiful, doesn't it, when you say it? I think with me that my circle of friends, I've kind of brought them along for the ride,
Hmm.
which is really nice as well. So you don't have to, you can just expand that circle so much.
Yeah.
Um, and every time we speak and we teach and somebody learns, they then take that to somebody else. And so we're creating this beautiful presence, which I think is so needed in the world right now.
Yeah. It is. It's needed to hold the shit that's happening so we
Hmm.
can ground in some of it. And it's needed to up level and bring in everybody else around us so that we can create a better way of being and relating and communicating with each other. And it
Mm.
is, what's the word? Oh my gosh, I'm pulling a blank, but it is magnetic. It is magnetic. It is, you can
Magnetic.
catch it. It's like you can catch it. It's what's the word? Contagious. Contagious is what I
Contagious.
was looking
That's the
for.
word.
It's contagious. It's people want it. We all want it. We had it as a child. If you look at yourself as a little 2 and 3-year-old, I've said this many times before, but we didn't care that we were dancing through the yard in a sprinkler naked and thousands of people around the street are driving by watching us. We didn't
Hmm.
give a shit. We weren't going to bed at that time and we weren't eating those peas. Like it just no. And we were in our pleasure. We were in the moment. We were present. We were playing. We were who we are at our core. And I
Yeah.
think that's what Tantra has done for me is brought me back to who I was, allowed me to
Yeah.
come home in my body and
Yeah.
who I am.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Mm,
beautiful. Really beautiful.
thank you. I love connecting with you. It's been too
Thank you.
long. I know we could talk for hours, but we won't do that to our listeners. Instead, please share, where people can find you. We're going to drop the links in the show notes too, but audio-wise, please share where people can find
Yeah,
you.
so you can come along and you can find me on my website, which is www.serenanovelli.com, or you can find me on Serena Novelli on Instagram. So yeah, they're the spaces that I play in. So
Beautiful. And if you haven't already gotten a copy of our most recent book, that was released last, was it June or May? I don't know, last spring.
it was literally a year ago, like this week, I think. I've been seeing all of the
Ah!
memories coming up.
Yay. So it's Love Thy Body, Sex, Love,
Mhm.
and Relationships. And you can get it on every Amazon out there. And if you need the link, just message
Absolutely.
one of us. We'll
Yes.
happily share the link. It was so
It's a
fun.
good read.
I woke up, which I haven't actually spoken to. When we released the digital copy, I was like a best-selling author by the end of that day. When we released the hard copy, I woke up at 8 a.m. Eastern as a best-selling author, and I didn't even know it yet, which was really, really fun because it got released in the other side of the world a little faster. And that was just
Yeah,
amazing and brilliant. And I was honored to be in that journey with you.
amazing. Thank you. Yeah, it was a beautiful journey. And I'd love to do it again, but at the moment I don't have the capacity. So
That is okay. Not
yeah,
meant to be at the moment. One day.
no, one day it will. It was such a beautiful experience, wasn't it?
It really was. I remember sitting in my car when we hit best-selling author. I'd been to the grocery store and I just bawled, 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 bawled. It was full happy tears. I was ecstatic, just like, wow,
Hmm.
we did this and I did this.
Yeah,
It's something that
yeah,
was on my heart for a long time. And it was like, we did this.
yeah. So good. So
Mhm.
good. Yes.
Thank you. So
Go
grab a
and get a
copy.
copy. Yeah.
Yeah, or message us and, we'll send you the links. It's awesome. It's a compilation, am I saying that word right? Of,
Yeah,
is there 16 of us sex, love,
there's
relationship coaches?
there's 20 authors altogether, and I think there's 16 of you that are certified sex, love, and relationship. Yeah. And
Coaches,
then
yeah.
the others are individuals who have actually dabbled in our world in some way.
Yeah, like clients to a certain extent, which is beautiful,
Yeah.
and they're all different little short stories that you can, pick up one in 15, 20 minutes and enjoy, so check that
Yeah.
out. Sex, love, relationships, love at first it's Love Thy Body, sorry, Love Thy Body, Sex, Love, and Relationships. Go to Amazon, grab your copy, and,
Yes.
beautiful again. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so Yeah, thank you. Look, we've been eye gazing, we're in sync.
Ah, we are eye gazing the whole time.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
I
Thank
will speak to you very soon. Thank you for
Yes,
having me.
you're very welcome. Till next time, everyone.
Bye.